Install, Repeat podcast. We are on episode 3. Today, as always, I'm joined by Joel Joseph Hilditch.
Hello.
And Mr. Fly himself, Bobby Jones. How you doing, Bobby?
Doing good, thank you.
Hey, on the pads over there, you got a hand clap cheer? Oh, well, okay. Well, there it is.
I still have not learned these pads.
Still trying to work out the pads. We'll get it one day.
Yes.
How's it feel to be back on the podcast, Bobby?
I'm excited, actually. This is the second time of coming in here and doing this with you guys, and just looking forward to it. And actually, looking forward to doing another one here.
Yeah.
Next month, hopefully. So.
You feeling a little more comfortable?
Yeah, a little one. I was a little edge, a little nervous and that, but for the most of it,
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. Like, where do I go with these?
How's your week going?
My week?
Yeah.
Week is going 10 times better than last week.
Okay,
Let's
all
put it
right.
that way. Yes.
You want to get into that at all or no?
Nah, we're
Okay.
good.
All right.
We're good.
You just got some sugar in that cup, right?
Well, no, not this one. A little bit of cinnamon tea.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, we are excited today. We got a very special guest. We got Josh Bowen from JVC-Kenwood. He's going to go over some of the Kenwood units, Kenwood Excelon units. He's going to kind of talk to us about the differences between JVC and Kenwood. So we're pretty excited to have him. I don't know. Should we just introduce him now?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the podcast, episode 3. Josh, welcome. How are you
How's
doing?
it going, guys?
Do we have, yeah, there we go. All right.
Doing all right?
I knew that one.
I'm curious to know what's in Bobby's cup now.
Just
what-
tea.
Oh. Did you say it was cinnamon?
Cinnamon tea, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to do the sponsorship.
Oh, go ahead and bust it out right now. Who's our sponsor today, Rudy?
Well, as always, this episode of the Eat, Sleep, Install, Repeat podcast is sponsored by Davis Distribution Systems. Davis Distribution Systems is a regional wholesale distributor that has a passion for bringing success to custom install shops and installers. We service customers in Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia, Southern New Jersey, Delaware, and D.C. Our company offers a quality selection of consumer electronics, including 12-volt audio, video navigation, tint, home audio video, and various accessories for the residential and commercial custom install markets. So if you own a custom install company, reach out to us today to see if we can help you. You'll probably be talking to Bobby. There you go. So, generally speaking, we've just been bringing on people from the industry on this podcast to get their input on, happenings and learn about some product, and I don't know, just kind of like what we always say, everyone in the industry is kind of a character, So there's a lot of characters and
A lot of stories.
Plenty of those.
yeah. So I know that you just got back from Master Tech Expo.
Yep.
How was that?
Yeah, I did. Oh, it was a great time, man. We had great attendance. We did this on the Kenwood side because, I'm one of the few that works for both. But on the Kenwood side, we had a really cool truck there that had 16 of our shallow subs in it. And it was in the 150s as far as, decibels. So for the first time since I've been a part of things, we had the obnoxious, annoying vehicle at a show. So that was that was kind of interesting for sure. But the truck looked great, and it was super loud. It did a really good job. So it got a bunch of people to the booth, which I couldn't be happier about. And then on the JVC side, we actually had my truck there. So we had demo vehicles in both booths, which was really cool. It helps to drum up some attention, get people to come by, check it out. And then on the Kenwood side, we had a training that we did. We had a great time doing that training as well. So all in all, man, it was an awesome event.
Awesome. And where was that at?
That was in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now on another note, on the Kenwood display and everything like that, did you have any of the bikes set up over there with it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You did have the Harleys?
We did. Yeah. We had our displays in the back, the newer displays that Kenwood made. And then we had one of a Harley there. And what was cool about the Harley is we did a live install in 2 parts with the Harley. So the first day on the booth, we were actually doing a live install on that Harley. And then we finished that install up in our training that we did. So both our training and our booth time, there was actually an installation taking place on site. And then the last day, we were able to just demo the bike and let people hear it.
How many people were installing on it at one time? Like, did you guys have a couple or?
Me and my coworker Marcus.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, we had. Yep, we had the two of us. So he took care of cutting in the speakers into the lids, and then I took care of, removing the tank, getting everything wired, prepped, ready to go. And then, when we got to the class, we left it to where all that was left to do was just remove the speaker pods, change the speakers inside of the fairing, and put it all back together. And then we gave everybody a demo, let them listen to it, and then we had it fully functional for the last day, which was, I thought it was kind of unique and cool.
Now, was that on a newer Street Glide or an older Street Glide?
Your best friend, the newer Street Glide.
Why is it your best friend? Were you saying you were having trouble with it?
No,
or something?
actually, mine was the 14 that I was doing. That was the one.
Yeah,
that had,
so it's-
so yeah, it would be, yeah. It
Yeah,
is a
14 and up, yeah.
Yeah, the fun one.
They all have those fun screws to get to, yeah.
Exactly. Now, did it have the seat bolsters in the back for the passenger, and you did that setup, or you just did the
No,
fairings and
not
the
on.
6x9 cut-ins?
Yeah, this one was just the front fairings and the 6x9 cut-in. So it's technically the P-HD3FR kit
Okay.
from the Excelon Motorsports line.
Yep.
So that's got the cut-in kit, the 6x9, 6.5s for the front fairing, and then it comes with both amps too.
Awesome. Cool.
We get a lot of compliments on it. It's different, and that's the advantage that I think it offers.
Yeah.
It's not what is currently out there, right? There's a lot of other manufacturers who do a great job of creating audio systems for motorcycles that are designed to be heard for blocks, right? And ours it's geared towards the rider, and we want them to have a better listening experience than the people around them. So that translates to the sound in general is entirely different from a Kenwood system as opposed to some of the other brands that are currently on the market.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, the one I did, it was it's for a 72-year-old man, older couple.
Okay.
His wife, they were all, they wanted something that sounded a little bit better than the factory, Harley
Yeah.
setup, and that's what we ended up going with for them.
Yeah, good solution.
What did they think after you guys finished the bike and did the demo? What did everyone think?
Man, I've yet to have anybody look at me and say that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Right. So I take that as a good thing. Everybody that's listened to it, we tell everybody when they listen to the system, they got to get on the bike, right? That's the difference. Because, even down to the 6x9s and the rear speakers, those are angled up into the rider, right? So the listening experience sitting on the actual motorcycle as opposed to standing off of it is entirely different. So it's really cool being able to kind of give people that, real-time demonstration where they actually get on the motorcycle and then they hear it versus what they heard before they got a chance to listen to it. So we get a lot of compliments on it, man. I'm really pleased with the outcome of the system and, the ease of installation, plug and play. It's just, it's a really well thought out design, and I think it sounds great. So nobody's told me any different.
Yep. Anybody could install that system. That
Yeah.
knows how to. It's mechanically inclined. Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. And the cool part is like when you think about Harleys too, like Harleys, it's a much more simplified category. And I think that's like kind of piggybacks off of what you said, right? So if you're looking at it in a retail aspect, it's easier because, your installer really just has to know how to remove 12 screws from a fairing and speaker pods. And once they do that one time, it's the same time every other job, right? It's a repeatable process. You have guaranteed outcomes that are going to happen every single time. You're not integrating into different aspects of the car or catching different frequency ranges that are being output from different OEM amplifiers. Like it's plug and play, get it in there. It works with the factory receiver. You don't have to flash the Harley. Like it's as simplified as it can get. So even installers that are, fresh, right, a little wet behind the ears, they can get into this, get their hands on it, and it's a comfortable system.
What?
That a
do it.
What about Rudy?
I have faith. I think
Yeah,
he could.
could probably do
Shut
it
up,
too.
guys. Joel's really technical.
That's true.
I feel like you don't even know him.
Yeah. Oh no, wait, that's
don't.
right. You do brakes. I forgot. You do
Brakes. That's
So-
true.
Damn, Bobby.
Bobby's the only one here with a degree in technology, I guess.
Nope, not me.
Well, he didn't even go.
Oh yeah,
He just showed up to the school.
we found that out last episode, Josh. I don't know. He just
I think I
started
ever
showing
told
up at a
Josh that
school.
story.
He told us on
Yeah.
Bobby showed up to the Votech, but wasn't there actually.
He wasn't a registered student.
I
He
was a
just
registered student there, so I
Ah,
just knew
okay.
The teacher there. He was a shop teacher at owned a stereo shop. I'm sorry, and
Okay.
I was really good friends with him and started hanging out there. And next thing you know, I just go every day and hang out in class and just learn stuff. That's about
What
it.
year was that?
1996, 97.
what do they call that when you just like go to a class and don't pay, like you're auditing a class? Is that what you were doing?
So anyway, back to this Harley. When you did the install on this, did you end up having to pull off? Did you end up having to take the gas tank off of that and run the wires down through that harness and all that stuff, or did you just?
So you don't
nonchalant
have
take them?
to. And if you look at our manual actually doesn't even state to do that. We chose to personally, and maybe it's a personal preference.
Looks a lot cleaner too.
I think it does, right? And I come from an installer background, right? I was in an install bay for 10 years. So like for me, it was just one of those things that if I didn't do it, I would know that I didn't do it, and that would haunt me. I didn't know the guy that owned the bike. It could have been out of sight, out of mind, but just for my own personal preferences, I chose to pull the tank and run it through the channel underneath. Yeah.
Good choice. Good choice.
Well, that kind of segues into what I was gonna ask. But so how did you get started in the industry?
How did I get started in it?
Yeah.
I've got a story similar to many other people, man. I started off as an intern in high school. So my senior year, I interned at a car audio shop locally. And whenever I graduated high school, I decided I was going to go to college for a little while. But I was working at the shop, and after I graduated, they gave me a job, and I was working at the shop part-time and then going to school. And after doing that for about a year and a half, I was like, I don't want to go to college. I just want to do this, right? So I stopped doing that, and I was an installer in an install bay for the majority of 10-year time frame. And at that shop, I worked my way up. I was managing the store for the last few years, I believe. I was there. I was working on the sales floor, doing the install bay, helping with orders, things like that. So um, I, I love that I love that I had that opportunity, right? Because that's one thing that kind of helps me, I guess, in what I do, right? Like as far as providing tech support or being there to help people whenever they're in those needs. I think that's kind of something that helps me to be able to provide a little bit better guidance because I've been there, right?
Mhm.
I know it. I understand what it's like. It's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time because when my phone rings and it's after hours and I don't want to answer it, my brain immediately defaults to that. Like, remember when it was like 7 p.m. and you were doing your best to get the car out of there, but you were stuck and you needed someone? So then I, got to apologize to the family and be like, oh, I might need to take this one. So it was a, pretty traditional story, I feel like. I tried getting out a couple times. I'm sure you guys have probably heard the term lifer, right? But after the third time of me trying to leave the industry, I finally just accepted it. I was like, you know what, this is it. This is what this is what I'm gonna do. And when I did that and really kind of sunk my teeth into it, that's when I started running. And after leaving retail, I got an opportunity to get a position at a manufacturer job, which has been an amazing experience throughout it. So. It doesn't even seem like it's been 5 years, right? We're going on my 5th year here, and
Wow.
it seems like just yesterday I started. So,
What were you going to college for when you were going?
man, I just chose some super generic thing like
Philosophy?
business. Yeah, it was like
General
business.
studies.
Yeah, I was gonna
Everyone
go
you
get a
ask is
general
like, oh, I
AA
like
and-
psychology.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
No, I mean I enjoy that. When my wife went to college and all of her psychology classes that she had to take, I was like I was doing her homework for her at some points because I was like, this is fun. But it just I love what I do. So
Yeah.
it wasn't what I wanted to do with my life.
Well, I mean, you were making money right out the gate too, so
Yeah,
and they gave you an
that's true.
opportunity, so sort of
Yeah,
hard to beat
absolutely.
that.
And I'll forever be grateful for that, man. I mean, leaving retail was a tough decision, right?
Mhm.
Because you get rooted in that. And for me, like I said, it's a benefit, but also, I'm just incredibly grateful for all of the opportunities. I was able to learn a lot from my old boss. There's a lot that he instilled in me that to this day I'll always be grateful for. And if I wouldn't have had that, I don't think it would have aided me to be who I am today. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, right? But I think it's helped me to be able to grab this position and run with it.
So what area like was the shop in that you started out at? Like what territory are you in there?
It's in Florida. So
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were
I'm
in
born and
Florida.
raised.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, oh, born and raised, man.
All right.
I've done my best to avoid any of the Florida man
I
headlines.
was gonna say
I've
you're a
part
true
of any of
Florida
that.
man.
That's where I want to be.
Yep, I haven't been a part of that. But no, so the shop is it's local to where I still live, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Cool. We've been vacationing. My family's been vacationing in Florida since I was, 3 years old. We go to Clearwater most of the time.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I love Clearwater. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
little further south. I'm in the weird part of Florida that's the central time frame. So I'm in the Panhandle,
Okay.
which if imagine Florida like a gun, right? I'm in the barrel,
Mm.
Yeah.
but I love it here, and we've got great beaches. We've got crystal clear water, white sand. I always tell my family on the East Coast that when we go visit them, I'm like, "There's no way I want to go to your beach. Your beach sucks." So Clearwater is definitely a second for me. I've told my wife if we were ever going to move anywhere else, it would probably be like Clearwater, Tarpon Springs, that kind of stuff down in that neighborhood. It's great down there.
I always wanted to hit the Crab Island up.
No, that's
what
right
is
down
it?
the road from me.
I always wanted
Crab
to go
Island's
there,
down the
yeah.
road from me.
I don't know nothing about it.
Oh man, got to look at the videos and stuff. It's
I'm
awesome.
guessing there's crabs there.
Is there crabs?
There's not.
It's not.
There's not. No, I'm not really. I mean, maybe there was at one point, but no. It's really just kind of a small island that's like right off the coast, and they take like floating restaurants, bars out there. It gets loaded down with boats. I mean, you'll see the videos that he was mentioning. Like if you look at any of those, it's just like hundreds of boats that are all just in like a big circle.
So that's why
surrounding.
you want to be there.
Oh man, it's just beautiful. There. I just want to be in the water.
You just want to be partying.
Yeah.
That's
Crab Island.
Crab Island. Man.
Don't get crabs.
That's it. No crabs.
Yep. So that's in Destin. That's about
in Destin.
about an hour west of me.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So if you ever go to Crab Island and you don't call me now, I'm going to be mad at you.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
I would be sure
Bobby
to
would
ask you.
definitely call you.
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure. Yeah.
No pressure.
So you said you've been there for 5 years. So is that JVC and Kenwood combined? Like you kind of got hired for both?
Yeah. Yeah. So I got hired as like I guess I don't know if you want to call it a hybrid role, right? Between both. There's about 4 or 5 of us that work for both brands, and I'm one of those few, right? So our marketing department, which I'm technically employed under, is dual branded, whereas a lot of the sales reps, anything like that, they're all going to be independent, right? JVC or Kenwood. But when I got hired originally, my coworker and I, we thought one of us were getting hired for JVC and the other one was getting hired for Kenwood, right? Because when they flew us out for the interview, we had to go out to California, and it was just like the two of us sitting in, JVC Kenwood's main office out there, and like we're kind of chit-chatting back and forth, and I'm like, so which one are you going to take if they offer it, and he's doing the same thing. We're going back and forth, and then whenever we actually got offered the jobs, it was like, oh no, you're going to be East Coast and he's West Coast, but you guys are going to do both. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's cool doing that, and it kind of helps, I think, to expand knowledge a little bit, right? The downside to that is, I get a lot of people that'll call me for tech support sometimes, right? And they'll be like, yeah, I got this radio in the dash and I hooked it up with this and I'm doing that and yada, yada, yada. And then I'll try to like decipher that, like based off of small things that they've mentioned to figure out like, okay, is this a JVC call or a Kenwood call? But sometimes I have to just stop them and be like, look, man, I need a model number. Like, what are we talking about here? Is this a JVC product or a Kenwood product? Like, I got to know.
Right. When you were in your shop days, your retail days, did you deal with Kenwood and JVC a lot?
I did. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So a lot more Kenwood than JVC. We dealt with JVC for a while, and then we consolidated some lines and moved down, and then Kenwood was the one that stuck through it on that one. But looking back at it, it's kind of silly, and I think I even made mention to this earlier, right? Like looking back, like I personally, and maybe I get it, I'm biased, right? But I see benefit behind both. So Kenwood was the one that I was most familiar with when it came to having to remember model numbers and stuff like that, because I had been selling them for years anyways. So but even after we stopped dealing with JVC, I was still a fan of the products. I just we needed to simplify and slim some stuff down.
Well, that kind of leads into the next sort of question that I have, which is, we were kind of talking about this beforehand, but there's maybe a perception out there that there's not much difference between JVC and Kenwood.
Sure.
But maybe, you can kind of clarify some of that for us.
I would love to.
Okay.
So I would love, nothing would make me happier
All
at
right.
this moment now than to do that. So, the way that I always kind of describe it to everybody is like, if you look at like GM, right? Like GM Motors, like GM's not just Chevy, they're not just Cadillac. They have several brands that operate within that, I mean, even Chevy, GMC, Cadillac, whatever. JVC-Kenwood, I look at that the same way, right? And when we talk to dealers and I have these conversations with them, my favorite question to ask them is, okay, well, what's the difference between I'll ask you guys, right? What's the difference between a Chevrolet Silverado and a GMC Sierra?
Bobby?
Name brand?
Name brand. I mean, the body's the same. I mean,
I don't
a
know.
little bit of looks on some of them.
Yeah.
Interior.
Sometimes, yeah, because one may have a flat floor and high hump. But for
Sure.
the most of it, all the wiring and everything's all the same, pretty much.
Right. Like when
There's
you look
nothing
at the
different.
chassis, it's
Yeah.
the same,
It's like
right?
looking
When you
at a
pop the
saw.
hood, it's the same, right? So JVC-Kenwood, like they share that, right? Like if you were to take apart the receiver, you would see a lot of similarities there, but there's still enough defining differences to justify both of them, right? And it's the same way if GM can justify Chevy and GMC and Cadillac. There's little niches of customers that would prefer the GMC Sierra over the Chevrolet Silverado. And they do things to kind of cater to that customer, which is what we do here. So, JVC, for example, personally, I have the KWZ-1000W in my truck. I love the receiver. The GUI is absolutely what does it for me. On the JVC side, it's typically going to be geared towards like a younger demographic, the customer who wants to be able to modify the receiver a little bit more, give it a little bit more of their own personal touch. So something I say in my trainings often is, I could take 10 of our 10-inch receivers on the JVC side and put them all side by side, and all 10 of them would be totally different by the time I was done customizing them, because it's just easy to get that interaction from them. There's things like live wallpapers, right? You're not going to see those on the Kenwood side. The GUI itself, having like the swipe out widgets that you can pull from left to right on the sides of the screens to be able to access quick shortcuts, or creating function keys and special keys on how the receiver interacts. You don't get that on the Kenwood side. Now, I mean, that's not to say that, one is better than the other, but that's going to cater to that customer that would want that type of feature set. Whereas with like a Kenwood product, Kenwood is well known for being kind of an established company to work with your audiophile type customers, but it's a little bit more simplified in ways of like the widgets are not going to be as customizable. You can't create those function keys. It's going to have an entirely different layout on the home screen. So the way that I kind of describe it to people is, if you think of it in the realm of cell phones, right? JVC would be like an Android, and Kenwood would be like an Apple, because Apple is much more streamlined. I'm an Apple user, right? I understand that preference. I like Apple products. But the reality is, I know I can't do all the crazy customizable stuff with an Apple that I could with an Android. So that's why earlier, I said, there's benefits behind both. And that's what I mean by that. Like, JVC is going to give you that custom interaction. It's going to help you cater to that younger demographic, whereas Kenwood's going to be there for your older demographic, middle-aged and up, really, that'll have a little bit more streamlined process. But the reality is, both of them are going to have some incredible sound quality features. On the 10-inch models, for example, in our trainings, we've been talking a lot lately about we're hooking them up to an RTA and to an oscilloscope to show that, JVC or Kenwood, both of them, you can turn the volume all the way up and there's no clipping on the outputs, right? And even on the JVC side, it still dives really far into the audio quality side of it. On the 10-inch, you have parametric EQ, three-way crossover mode, where you can change front rear subwoofer to high pass, band pass, low pass outputs, and then you can go in with our time alignment. In my truck, I don't have a DSP. I do all of the DSP properties with what's found inside of that receiver. And like I said a minute ago, I have the JVC in my truck personally. So it's still a powerhouse of a product. It's just entirely different interactions and experiences that customers are going to have with them. Because internally, I think I even made mention to this earlier, but when we were talking a little before we started, but working in the industry, it's really easy to lose sight of the fact that like we know there's a lot of similarities there, right? But when your customer comes into the store, they don't know that, right? I mean, they may look at the box and the fine print and see where it says JVC-Kenwood, but your customer's perspective is, okay, this is a JVC product and this is a Kenwood product. So I think that's something that we work on internally. And when I say internally, I mean, people that are in the industry with us is, we get kind of caught up in that, like, oh, well, if I'm selling one, I don't need to sell the other because they're both the same thing. But they're not, right? There's a lot of differences that lie in those. And, even when you look at the product line, there's differences throughout the product lines. There's differences in how the receivers interact. JVC has different subs than Kenwood has. They're not the same subs that are just rebranded. There's actual physical differences too that tear down into some of the products as well. But yeah, it's just two brands that are operating under the same happy family. Is the way that I look at it.
So, I mean, really, there's little nuance benefits to each, Kenwood
Sure.
and JVC there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The same thing as like the Chevy Silverado and the GMC Sierra.
Yeah.
Similar trucks. They're going to perform probably the same, right?
Yeah.
But there's small little differences that completely change the customer's interaction. And that's why those customers lean towards one or the other, because they
Right.
prefer the differences.
Well, I think you might have already said it too, but the GUI is specifically the one is on the
JVC,
the 10-inch one for the JVC, right?
the JVC, and the 8, the KW, or which one is it? The KW.
KWM 875 BW.
Yep, BW.
I got you.
Yep.
I got you.
I was trying to get it out there. Still trying to get used to the talking on the, on the microphone and the camera.
Yeah,
You've been doing good,
Yeah.
great today. I don't know. Keep asking.
you're killing it in my eyes, man. In the best way.
It's real nice, Bobby.
Yeah.
He just gave you a really good compliment.
Yeah.
Thanks. Smart ass.
What, me? What do you mean? Anyways, I know we were kind of touching on it before, but I guess, JVC Kenwood is, really known for, the receivers that you guys
Sure.
sell. But you guys, do have the Kenwood Excelon motorcycle kits. And I know we were
Yeah.
or what?
Real quick, one thing I did want to come out and talk about also too is the Powersports Amplifier that we had
Oh, yeah.
did at
Yeah.
at the training,
The JVC ones.
the JVC
Yeah.
training. Yes, how that amplifier was submerged underwater
Yeah.
for literally.
You guys came
Yeah,
back
and
talking
some
about
guy
that.
accidentally forgot to take it out and left it in overnight, and then
Yeah.
came back in the next day and was like, "Oh, I don't
Who
know
was
about
that
this."
guy?
That was my coworker.
Oh.
Yeah,
Was it
definitely,
Marcus?
definitely not me. Definitely not me.
And you know what, man? That thing still kicked ass. Kicked butt.
That's okay.
Yep.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
still worked. That's one nice thing about like with this power sport industry that, a lot of these guys got to look at, and, they're out and about with their side by sides, and it's hard to have a spot to put their amplifier. And one nice thing is you could tuck that thing underneath the seat and not have to worry about it when it comes time to wash it. And if you submerge it, kind of nice.
Yeah. Those amps, I mean, I try to throttle my excitement when I talk about those, because it sounds like such a silly thing to get so excited about, but I love those amps. I mean, they are tanks, and I mean, it's one of those things like you know how it is when you just like pick something up and you're like, this just feels good,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it just feels like it's quality.
Yep.
For me, they check that box 100%, and I've even made the joke on like trips where I don't check a bag, right? I'll just pack one of those amps in my bag as like a weapon if I need, because they're so dense and well built. But also, I mean, getting down to like the specs and like the actual output on those amps. I mean, have you seen the videos? I think we talked about it at the event we brought you guys down to, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, for sure.
those are drastically underrated. I mean, we advertise 50 watts by 4, but they do a lot more than that.
I was gonna say, I actually have a customer who had took one of the Kenwood marine amps, their 4-channel amplifier,
Mm-hmm.
put it in his side by side. He wasn't a big fan of it. Turned around, he ended up getting the JVC one. Now that's his go-to 4-channel amplifier.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was just like, okay, cool.
When you guys came back from that event, I specifically remember you guys specifically talking about those amps.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It was
And
something. It
I
was
can't remember,
impressive.
did they, obviously, I guess they submerged them too, but I don't know. Didn't they have some crazy
was in a
sales
fish tank.
pitch, like great sales? What was it?
It was in a fish tank, just sitting in a fish tank.
So I mean, that was the sales pitch. Like,
Filling
this thing
that
is
up in
a
the
fish
hotel
tank.
bathroom was fun. Yeah.
It was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and some people will see that as hat tricks, but to me, it's like the proof is in the pudding, right? If you dump the amp in the water while it's playing in speakers, like you can't say it didn't work, right? So, but they're built really well. I mean, they're completely waterproof. They're IP67 rated. They're dust proof, rust proof, vibration proof. Like there's all kinds of stuff that went into those to make sure that they would survive in like the harshest environments. And, I think that's why I get so excited talking about them is just, coming from retail, I've had experiences with amps that were advertised to be sold in those and they ended up being not as great as I wanted them to be. Right. So I think it's just one of those things like, selling with confidence, right? Like when you know confidently that product is going to thrive, you just feel better about selling it. And then maybe that's why I feel better about talking about them because I know they're awesome. They do a great job.
Is that the one with the Bluetooth and everything built in?
The one with
There is one that
there
does
is
that,
one
yeah.
with Bluetooth built in.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. So there's a monoblock version, then there's a standard 4-channel, and then there's the one that's got the wired Bluetooth. I'll tell you what's really cool about that one too, and I think we even talked about this at the Hot Shots event that you guys came to, but a lot of our dealers use those in classic cars. So it's not even just for side-by-sides or boats or whatever, because the amps are compact. That wired Bluetooth controller is the perfect size to fit in like an ashtray, which all your classic cars have ashtrays because everybody smoked back then. So you can put the remote in the ashtray. Ashtray's typically within arm's length of the driver, so it makes it easy access if they do want to control that. And you can bury the amp under the dash. And if it's a true classic car with like a rusted out floor pan, then it doesn't matter because the amp's waterproof anyway.
That's why I was actually asking about that because my father-in-law, he recently got like a 57 Chevy truck. And someone cut the dash up and put a radio in, and it looks really terrible. And he's trying to find like a regular radio, but he still wants music. So I was actually thinking about getting him one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. You should.
Yeah.
And you can, like I said, since they're underrated like they are, you can run 4 speakers off of it. You could run 2 speakers off of it and a sub. If you bridge that amp, it actually puts out over 200 watts RMS, which is plenty to run a small sub setup too. So you could have that thing jamming.
Yeah.
You got any other questions on the JVC or?
No, I think we're pretty good on that. I mean, I think we're
Okay.
good.
All right.
One nice thing is also they're all Maestro. Most of them are all Maestro compatible, and the higher end
On the receivers, yeah.
on the receivers. So that's another good thing.
Yeah, so the best way that I always tell everybody for that is Maestro compatibility starts at the 7 series and up. So anything that starts with a 7 or a number of higher value, Maestro compatible.
I was just gonna get back into the Kenwood Excelon Motorsports stuff, and
It's that time of year.
it is. It's getting to be that time of the year, and
Well, if we're gonna do that, I gotta change shirts.
Motorcycles.
okay,
But
he's got to change
You need
shirts
to get
now.
a motorcycle.
I'm gonna change shirts if we're doing it, right?
All
Yeah.
right, all
You
right.
need to-
Do you got intermission music? No. All right. On the pads. Aw.
that means I don't have intermission music.
There we
Yes,
go.
you did.
Boom.
There
Oh,
it is.
there we
Look
go.
at
All
it.
All
There it
right.
is.
There's Josh from Kenwood now.
Oh yeah, Josh. from
Yeah,
Kenwood
Josh,
now.
that's a fun joke we have in our trainings. The guys that stick around and they do like the Kenwood training and then the JVC one, we're always like, you got to at least turn around while I change shirts. So I'm a seasoned vet. Never thought I would be a professional shirt changer, but here we are.
No.
Yeah. So basically, I just thought maybe you could give us like a. I know we were kind of talking about it before, but maybe just like a formal, actual breakdown of what the kits do, why they're good.
Yeah.
How they can help installers out.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I apologize for getting ahead of that because I guess
Oh
I did
no,
kind
it's-
of
yeah, you're
chat
all
about
good.
it a little
No, we're all
earlier,
good.
right? But
I think Bobby was
Uh,
asking about it. Yeah.
Bobby
think
jumped
I did.
Bobby's
on.
fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's his. Yeah, it's Bobby's
Damn it,
fault.
Bobby.
But, hey, that's one of my favorite shows in the world.
Mine too.
But I love it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, okay, I was about to start quoting King of the Hill,
No,
but
go
okay.
ahead. It's all good.
You shall propane.
That'll make a good short.
Bobby,
Yeah.
you
Bob-
speak English.
Well, my favorite one is my wife gets mad because I literally replay it over and over again. But it's like season 12, and Hank's teaching Bobby how to grill a steak, and he walks up to him, and it's in the opening scene, right? So it's just the very first thing that happens. But Bobby walks up to him, and he's like, and 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there, and that'll give you a good medium rare. And then Bobby's like, well, what do you do if they ask for it well done? And then he looks at him, and he's like, we ask them politely yet firmly to leave. But yeah, so the Excelon Motorsports, right? So I said earlier, but I'll kind of reiterate it a little bit. But our goal was to do something different, and it wasn't to come to market, to reach customers that are already being successfully reached. Hats off to a lot of the companies out there. Obviously, I'm not going to name them, but hats off to the ones that are out there and are doing a great job of creating systems that are designed to be heard, like for blocks. But one of the things that we found when we started talking to people is that a lot of customers, one, wanted something in a little bit better price point, and they didn't want something that was going to need as much power. And that's what kind of pushed us to the direction that we're at now. It helps because our amps are efficient, and that's something that's really important, right? When you look at a Harley, a Harley Davidson doesn't have an alternator. Whereas like a car does. So, you can put amps in a car that are going to be a little bit more power hungry, but on a Harley, you have a stator, and that stator, like on the 14 and up models that you mentioned earlier, that's slated for like 55 amps of current that produces. And I think when the bike's running, it's consuming 25 to 30 of that. So there's really not a lot of room left in there to start taxing that electrical system. So the cool part is, like, whenever we tested our amps, we sent them out, had them tested by a third-party company in Arizona. They came back and their max current draw was 18 amps, which, is pretty cool. That does also, we kind of wanted to change the way that things looked as far as system design too. Something else that we saw, because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but, we traveled and attended motorcycle shows for a year before the Excelon Motorsports products ever came out. So now we did that under the window of having that, what I thought to be a really cool front and rear camera system for motorcycles. Unfortunately, it just didn't get as much traction, so it's since forth been discontinued. But we were traveling around, talking to everybody about that. And while we were there, though, we were asking all these questions, right? Like, if you were to see an audio system come from us, what would your expectations be? What are categories you think are underserved right now? Things like that. And one thing that we did get a lot of feedback on is, there were a lot of customers that are like, man, I really just want to upgrade what I've got. I don't want to put a bunch of extra speakers on here, and if I just want to upgrade my fairing, I don't want to have to buy this big amp. So it would make sense that we came to the market with 2-channel amps, because with those 2-channel amps, we've found ways to be able to put up to 3 of them, for example, in a fairing in a 2014 and up. We can put 3 of those in the fairing with factory mounting locations. You don't have to modify anything, cut anything, drill in any extra bolts or anything like that. But even for the customer that simply just wants to upgrade what's in the fairing, cool. We have a 2-channel amp solution for that. And it comes in at a great price point, which was another thing that we found a lot of the customers were really excited about too. So, it's affordable. I think it's the right price for the product, absolutely. And it caters to a great customer. I mean, I won't go into specifics on it, but like when we were in Sturgis, and the only reason I say that is because we were teamed up with a dealer, and I don't want to air all their business, but I will say we ordered in, or the dealer ordered in what he thought was plenty to make it through the time frame that we were at Sturgis, and we had to air freight product in twice.
Wow.
So, I mean, to me, that's a testament to the product. It did a great job, and we got, twice as much, 3 times as much business as we thought we were going to get, just, kind of going into it, maybe a little conservative because it was our first year. We weren't sure, right? But to me, that was a testament that, people are actually getting into this and they're behind it. The other side of it too that we saw is, Kenwood is a name that people know. Anybody that's been in audio in any form, whether it was home audio or car audio, like, they recognize the name Kenwood. And that was a huge pull. So, I mean, maybe we're riding the coattails of success a little bit on that, but there's credibility in the name, and that built a lot of the confidence that a lot of people needed to come by the booth, take a look at the systems. We built them in different packages to try to make it, 1, affordable, and 2, modular or expandable. And that's something else that's really neat to talk about with those. If they just do like the PD or the P-HD1F, which is just our front fairing upgrade. And then they come back and they say, hey, you know what? I want a little bit more out of it. I want to add on the rear speakers. Cool. We have the P-HD2R, which is essentially just that cutting kit, the 6x9s and the amp. And then it allows you to build off of the system that you've already installed. So you don't have to go tap into a bunch of other wires or anything like that. There's a small 4-pin harness that comes out of one amp, and it feeds the signal directly into the other amp. So you stack them side by side if it's a street glide, and then you got that jumper that goes from one to the other. Signal's already at the amp. All you got to do is get the wire to the speakers you're cutting into the lids. So it's really cool kind of seeing how you can build on those systems too. And the example I always give is like anybody who's been in retail at any point, I'm sure they can typically relate with like customer comes in and, you know, they want to improve their audio system, right? 9 times out of 10, they're looking at subs, right? They want more bass. But then you pitch them on, you know, if you're going to put more bass in, you need to put another amp in on your mids and highs too, right? Because we need to even everything out. And then the customer ends up saying, you know what? I just want to do the subs. I mean, how long is it typically until they're back, right? They want to upgrade their speakers. They want to put an amp on it. So if you look at it in that same light and you talk to them, you know, say for example, to throw model numbers out, say you talk to them about the P-HD3FR, which is just the combination of the 1F and the 2R being put together. But say you talk to them about that until you're blue in the face. You do a great presentation, you cover all the boxes, but at the end of the day, maybe it just boils down to price, and the customer says, look, I'd really rather just do the front kit right now. Cool, right? You know, we can now expand on that easily by adding in that 2R kit to be able to kind of expand that and create that 3FR. So, you know, there's a little bit of thought that went into that. Another advantage too on the retail perspective is our packages are just overpacks, right? So we're just taking these products and in California, we're putting them all in these overpack boxes to create these kits. Something else that I hear our dealers talking about as an advantage is, say a customer comes into the store and they just want the actual speakers, like the XM65Fs, for example. Since that's an overpack, you can just grab that out, order in another XM65F, and you've got a complete kit, right? When you open it up, it's all retail packaging inside of it. It all still looks good. So, you know, you can even get creative with how you keep it in your inventory. You know, pick and pull from it what you need to. If you have to, then replace it, which could be an advantage to help from losing a sale, right? Not everyone's coming in, it's going to spend $600 or whatever on a kit, but you may have a much better, you know, chance of talking to them about some speakers at least. So a lot of design thought that went into that too.
And how many kits are in the line?
So that's a fun question. So right now, like if you look at it on paper, like if you're ordering it from the list, there's 4 kits. There's the HD1F, which is just the front fairing for the 2014 and ups. And then there's the HD2R, which is the rear add-on I talked about. Then there's the 3FR, which is the front rear combined. And then the 4th one is the P-HD4UT, which is for the Ultras. Like earlier you asked about the tour pack speakers, that's the kit for those. Like if a customer comes in, they don't want to cut into their saddlebags, for example, then we have that Ultra kit so that they can just replace those rear speakers, change out the front ones. But like I mentioned too, though, you can expand that. So if you want to do a 3-amp system, cool. You get the 3rd-amp mounting bracket. There's a different one for street glides and road glides because, like I said, we found factory mounting locations for those. So there will be differences there because the fairings are different. But you get that 3rd-amp bracket, and then you add on what you need, you know, to create that 3rd-amp install for them too. Now, when we first started doing this, we did it, you know, under the premise that 75% of our market was going to be 2014 and up bikes. When we started attending these shows, we realized that wasn't right. There was still a lot of people out there with the 98 to 13 category, and they were going to be looking for stuff too. So the reason I said it's a fun question is currently right now we're working on, you know, creating some better package solutions with a heavier focus on the 98 to 13 category. Now, if you go to our website, you know, Kenwood.com, and then you go into the USA section with the motorcycle tab, what we did is we created a fit guide. So you can go to that, select that fit guide, and then put in the year, make, and model of your bike, and it'll pop up all the different packages that are available. So what we've done at this point is we've created like some virtual packages that can be found on that. And those are basically just kind of a culmination of everything you would need to do that package, but it's still going to break down into individual part numbers right now because we're not creating those overpacks yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the last time I was on there looking up something for somebody, I was looking for a package. Actually I think I called you on it, matter of fact. And
it sounds right, yeah.
And you were like, oh, yeah, it's on there. They're just not in a package. It's all a la carte. We got to just build it. So
yep,
that's what I ended up having to go through and design it and build it all that way for the company.
That's why you got to call Bobby.
Well, hopefully the fit guide made it easy for you, though. That's the goal, right?
Well, yeah, when it started working again, yeah. Because remember, it wasn't working neither at that time. I think I told you as well. I think it was.
I'm gonna blame that on your browser cookies.
Oh my goodness!
Clear your cache.
Well, browsers. But what people don't realize is browsers can be insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
know? We actually just updated our portal, our dealer portal.
Looks beautiful.
And
yeah, if you're watching right now, go check it out.
And me and Joel tested it in a million different browsers, and it will do something in one browser, won't do it in the other, and
then the next day it will do it in the other one, but not the other one.
Yeah, and people don't, people don't understand that like cache and cookies make a big difference, and if there's a change, you have to clear it, and
yep,
And
that happened, when we implemented the motorcycle tab, actually, I called one of the people that were telling me it was live, and I'm like, no, it's not. I'm on the website. It's not working. He's like, you got to clear your cache. And I felt like such an idiot at that moment. 'Cause I was like, I didn't even try it.
Right.
And then once I did it, boom, there it is. Right.
Yeah.
But for that same reason, I have Google Chrome, Firefox, and Microsoft Edge all on my computer, because if something's acting weird in one, I just pop open the other one and then, go do it that way.
Yeah, we about a month ago, I had to give like a full dissertation about like cache and cookies and clearing them and why, explaining the internet. And I was like, man, this is actually, kind of like, how do you describe it to someone, So, but
yeah,
someone was.
I don't think I
about
still
it.
understand it.
Yeah, I don't know if I do either. I was just basically saying like, hey, the internet's.
But when you think about
up.
it, isn't cookies like such a weird name for that? Like,
yeah,
like it's snack. Why? Like a sweet.
Where'd that come from? Where'd they come up?
Like,
with
what
that?
guy was like, let's call whatever this little bit of data that's gonna linger and annoy people. Let's call that cookies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where'd that come from.
Bobby, were you gonna ask someone?
Well, I was just gonna say that the if they were to use the Kenwood search bar and everything for the bikes and everything, it is very user friendly. That is one thing I will say. I mean, anybody can figure it out just by jumping on it and checking it out.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, we have all the Kenwood Excelon Motorsports stuff at Davis, so yep, Bobby can help you out.
Which not everyone has that, right? And I think that's something. If you don't want to say it, I'll say it, right? Like, it's an advantage that you guys have. Yeah. Not everyone has access to be able to sell that product. So, the fact that you guys do, that's super cool. Because, Excelon is typically a Kenwood direct thing, right? Mm-hmm. But our Excelon Motorsports, we open that up to some specific distributors. Not a lot, but a few. So I'm happy you guys are on that list.
We're happy to be on the list.
Yeah. Yep. It was nice to hear that when it came to us at Knowledge Fest.
That when you said that you guys had to like air freight in the product at Sturgis, were they actually doing installs there at Sturgis?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sturgis is grueling, man. I mean, it's so much fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's a grueling process. It takes a toll on you. I mean, you're typically 13, 14-hour work days, 7 days a week for 2 weeks. But yeah, those guys, the dealer that we teamed up with on that is a great dealer to work with. He's turned into what I consider to be a great friend of mine as well. He's not even in my territory, but it's super cool. But he brought, I believe, 5 or 6 guys, and those 5 or 6 guys are working, from sun up to sundown, past sundown actually. There's some nights, we're not leaving there until 10 or 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Because they just get so backed up on installs. So, yeah, they're definitely doing them on site.
But that's kind of like a good, I mean, that's, I don't know, what's the word? Like, I'm trying to think of like a benefit for these kits because they can actually do the installs there on site and have the customer probably riding the next day.
Well, the cool part is, when you look at it in that eye, right? Like a lot of dealers are starting to get on board with the motorcycle shows, which they should. They're great shows to attend, and there's a ton of customers that show up to these events. But when you have an opportunity to have a brand that's like a streamlined, efficient process, when we look at that from a business perspective, that's more dollars, right? If you can install 2 kits and, from Kenwood, and the time it may take to install 1 kit from, another brand, to me, that's a no-brainer, right? That's twice as much you get to do. I mean, I guess you could argue back and forth as far as dollars and cents, but, I'd rather get 2 bikes done in the time of 1 if I could.
What are you thinking, like hourly wise, like how to do a fairing kit and the tour pack seat bolsters and amp and everything? How many hours are you thinking something like that should take a technician to do?
So not the cut-ins?
Not the cut-ins, correct. Yes.
Not the cut-ins?
Yeah.
Like a seasoned technician or like a...
Yeah. Somebody that knows their way around the garage. You know what I mean? A guy that doesn't work on bikes, though, neither, of course.
Yeah, so
as much,
I would say if it's someone who works on bikes regularly, you could do that kit in probably an hour and a half, maybe. For someone that is not quite as seasoned in that, I still can't see it taking much longer than 2.5.
I did it in
Okay, yeah.
That was my first one ever doing too.
So we'll get you back in that school that we were talking about earlier for 97. Yeah.
Great.
No,
so that's like a C.
Yeah, but maybe you took some breaks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well,
played on your phone a little bit.
Played on your phone.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And these guys at these events, not to say that you're not, but these guys at these events, I mean, they're hustling out there. Like they're drenched in sweat because they're paid per job. And these are the type of events, especially the one like Sturgis, like you make as much as you make time for, right? The business is there. The customers are there. So these guys are, they're moving, and a lot of them. But I mean, if they were doing like a cut-in kit and, front fairing, and even some of the ones that were 3 amps, I think the longest install they had was around that 3-hour time frame. But that would be the one that had like 3 amps and everything in it. Counter to that though, right? These guys know their bikes. This is what they do. Right. So obviously they're going to be faster than you and I.
Right. And after they've done so many of them, it's like they know where they got to go with the wiring and what all they got to take off and all that other stuff too as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's like I said earlier, right? It's a repeatable process every time. It's going to be the same thing. So it's just going to enable you to get faster and be more efficient at it. The other cool part, and if I can say this now before I forget, about the Kenwood systems is, I made mention to it, but I didn't really talk about it as much, but our systems don't require you to flash the Harley. And one thing I've learned in talking to customers as far as dealers about this is, they've had a little bit of hesitation getting into it because they don't want to buy that module they need to buy to flash it. And then they've got to learn new software. And that is a portion of it, right? So it's much more appealing to some of those dealers to know that they can just plug and play this system in and it just works. You don't have to have any extra software on your computer, and you don't have to have that flashing module or any of that, because our system takes into account for the problem curve that occurs out of the factory Harley radio. So that's another big advantage that we offer, right? It's less overhead to get involved into it. It's not as what's the word? I don't know. It's not as overwhelming to think about getting involved in Harley when you think about it in the aspect of, all the connections are in the same spot. There's 2 different versions of the bike. Once you learn how those 2 versions of the bike come apart, it's the same thing every time. You don't have that overhead of buying extra gear, putting new software in a computer and learning it. And after you've done 1 or 2 of these systems, every other time it's going to be the same process and easy to use, easy to install.
Yeah, and also, wasn't there, I do remember seeing something on an adjustment on the amplifier, setting the gain and everything like that.
Oh yeah, we have a tech tip out there on Davis Dealers for that. Yeah, there's a certain tech bulletin for setting the gain and everything. Right?
What is it, like 3/4 of the way or something? Is that what it is, Josh, or is it a little bit over half?
Best way to say it is 180 degrees from all the way down. So the gain is going to look identical to how it looks coming out of the box when you're done. You just got to put that in, flip it 180 degrees to where it looks exactly like it did when it was all the way down. We got that number, off of actually testing it with when when we went down to actually Clearwater area that we were talking about earlier, we didn't talk about this, but we filmed a full series of videos on the Excelon Motorsports products, right? We teamed up with a local Harley dealer, sorry, not dealer, but he was a local mechanic that had a big bay he said we could use. He had a lineup of motorcycles for us from every different category and year. And we went down there and we shot a ton of videos on it, right? We hired a video production company to come in. We're running around in the background there, and they had their tech that was the one pulling the bike and everything apart. But in the midst of doing all of that, we knew we wanted to find out, like, where do these receivers actually start clipping, and where can we tune our amps to make sure that we're getting the most out of them and a good clean sound too. So when we did go down there, we grabbed some tuning tools, and we took that opportunity to do that. So that number, that's where that came from. Is I was actually standing there with the bike. We had it pulled apart, hooked it up to some of the testing equipment, and then we played with that to where we found, okay, no clipping here, a little bit of clipping here, whatever. So back it down just a bit. Ended up being 180 degrees from where it starts. Perfect.
It's a good tip to know, that way anybody installing it,
We can put the links to those videos in the description too, the video. Yeah. You guys were talking about those videos beforehand. What was the premise of the video?
So it's just basically how-tos, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Start to finish. I mean, remove these 3/16 Allens, and they're going to be located here, here, and there. And then, after that, remove these, pull the fairing off this way, run your power this way, whatever the case is. It's a full walkthrough of how to do everything.
They're like less stylized videos and more tech, kind of like step 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
I mean, the thought when we made them was, if someone has zero experience at all, how do we, show like those installers how to do this?
Yeah. How to cut
And
your
that was
finger digging up in there, trying to get these little bolts out of the side, on each side.
How many fingers did you cut?
I sliced them up a good bit on there.
That's literally the
tight.
worst part
It
of
is.
doing the install, is getting those 4 screws out, and that's not our fault. That's Harley. But we have found some tools that helped out a lot to be able to get to those a little bit easier. There's a swivel socket set that you can order, and that's what we have that we use. It's like a shallow socket with a swivel on it, and then you just slide it up in there and then crank it down and you get them. So that has become our best friend anytime we're doing any installs with that.
I don't know if I have any more questions. We've been going an hour already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Josh, you March Madness fan?
I'm a college football guy.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, college football guy.
Right.
That's really the only.
Who's your team?
Who's my team?
Yeah.
Who do you think my team is?
There's a
Based
couple
off of where I live.
There's a couple down there, so I don't know.
We got a couple.
Florida State.
Florida State. That's right.
I knew it.
Yep. I actually moved my Florida State light that I have. I moved
Okay.
it
What is
out
it?
of frame.
Hey, you got a tattoo there.
I have a lot.
Oh, okay. All right. Is it rude to ask about tattoos?
Got a full bunch of them over there.
Do those mean anything to you? Is there a reason you got those?
We're gonna go down that road, huh?
What does that mean? What does that tattoo mean?
Why did you get that on you? My favorite thing is when you get that question and then I look someone and I'm like, you know what? I just thought it looked cool. I just stuck it on there. Like, no thought, no prep, nothing. I just walked in and said, what do you got you can do in an hour?
Yeah.
And, like, I'll say that to people and then the look on their faces, it's just like, whoa.
You're like, I pointed at the wall and that's the one I picked.
Yeah, that's how I ended up with my
threw a
Pixie
dart.
Star.
Dart
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. That was the worst one. That's how I ended up with my Pixie Star tramp stamp, But I'm kidding. I don't really.
Sure.
Just for clarification, there is no tramp stamps.
Don't we know
We'll cut
somebody
that part out.
Don't we?
What's your tattoo?
You have a tattoo?
Mine?
You have a tattoo?
Mine just says Jones. That's it. Down my leg. That's it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It says Big Boy Jones.
Does it really?
No, it just says Jones.
I'm so
You
gullible.
should add Big Daddy Jones. That would
Big Daddy Jones.
Big Daddy Jones.
Nah,
There you go.
they make fun of like I got my other email address. It's bigboy262.
Yeah.
That's why everybody's like,
Boy with an I.
no, B-O-Y.
So if anybody wants to know how to sign you up for any marketing websites or anything like that, now they
No,
got
no,
you.
it's out there.
They don't know it all. There's more.
Is that
to
at
it.
Gmail or Hotmail or?
It's that mail. There's still more to that anyway.
I've officially named you Mr. Fly.
Mr. Fly.
Yeah. You're always well put together. You know, you trim your beard, nice haircut, you know.
It's almost time to break out the beach wear.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I wear.
It's been 40 degrees here in the morning.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was 40 today when I got up.
Yeah,
Drove to work.
that's what I've been
It was snowing
running
yesterday.
in a t-shirt, making a mistake, but I'm stubborn, so I'm not putting on. You know, I'm like, no, it's springtime. It
Right.
should be hot.
Yeah.
I'm not dressing.
Yeah, the other day was just the
just snowing.
equinox or whatever. First day.
Yeah, I mean, it's been bipolar weather here.
We had snow yesterday.
Yeah.
Last night it was
What?
snowing. Yeah, it was
Yes, we
snowing last
did.
night,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell you a fun fact about me. I've never seen snowfall.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Damn,
Nope.
Even in
Never.
all your travels?
that is so crazy.
Our travel season slows down during the winter, right?
Oh,
our,
yeah.
our busy travel season is always spring and summer.
Right.
And actually, so I add the word fall at the end of that to be
Right.
specific.
Yeah.
And the reason I do is because last year I was in Toronto, and when I got up there was technically snow in the parking lots, but it was like that weird, gross parking lot slush stuff.
Mhm.
And you
all
didn't
the
see it
Canadian,
fall.
I never saw it fall, and that was really just big blocks of ice at that point that had like melted and refrozen and melted and refrozen.
Mhm.
But all the Canadians were laughing at me because I still ran and like tried to jump in it. I was like, "Can I jump in it?" They were
That's
like, "It
nasty.
may not
Did
feel
you try to
great, but
make
you
a
can
snow
try it."
angel?
Yeah. So the hope is, you know, maybe it'll start snowing again because I'm getting ready to head back up there actually. And whenever I do here in a couple weeks, maybe it'll do one of those weird things it just did to you guys where it starts snowing randomly.
For you, we'll hope, but I don't want any more snow.
Yeah, I'm ready for the
Yeah.
sunshine, man. I want my 80, 90-degree days back.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
break out my new Birkenstocks and my Hawaiian shirts.
I just want to hit someone with a snowball
That's
once.
it.
That's all I want. I want one snowball fight. Maybe.
When's the next training? When are we? I'll bring a snowball with me.
Yeah, just schedule something for me to come up there in the winter.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Actually, I did want to ask one more thing. Is there anything you want to go over up and coming, new from Kenwood or JVC, or anything you're excited about?
That you can talk about or stuff?
That you can
So
talk
the
about?
only thing that I can talk about is we have a new backup camera coming, but that'll start shipping, you know, within the coming months. The reason I think it's worth talking about though is because we did something that people have asked for forever. And we finally have a license plate bracket that's included with this kit. A lot of our dealers, you know, they're not fans of the square mount, but we took it a step further. So this kit, it's not just a license plate bracket kit. It's a universal mounting type kit. So it'll come with a rubber mount housing. It'll come with a metal mount housing, license plate bracket, and a square mount. So that you'll be able to use it for like under your mirrors, for example, for left and right if you want to use it for blinkers. You have a little loop on it that you can disconnect. You don't have to cut it. It's got bullet terminals, so you can just pop it off if you want it to mirror. That way you can use it as a front camera. And it obviously can be used as a reverse camera at the exact same time. So those will be coming soon.
That'll be nice.
We're working on getting them ready for the website. We should start seeing those. And I'd say about 2 months, month and a half, 2 months, we should start seeing those. But you know, it's cool because it's just another thing that furthers like what we do as far as being like a full line manufacturer. And I guess that would be one last shameless plug I'd like to make. You know, a lot of people think about JVC or Kenwood, you know, and they really just see us as a receiver company. But the reality is we're so much more than that. You know, I mean, we have some amazing amps for, you know, vehicles, obviously for marine motorsports. We talked about that already. And then now we have, you know, the motorcycle options too. But, you know, in the Kenwood lineup, there's some great products that exist. And the same thing in the JVC side that are outside of the threshold of just a receiver, right? I mean, we've got some great speakers, great amps, great subs. You know, we have dash cameras. We have, you know, we already have offerings for backup cameras. But being able to expand that even further with a you know, universal mounting option, I think it's something that just kind of makes sense to who we are, right? Expanding on that, creating that versatility, and, you know, having something that can go front, rear, left, right, you know, under the lip on a SUV or something like that too. So, but yeah, that's the only thing we've got that's up and coming right now that's worth discussing at this time.
That you can talk about. That's what you said.
That is what I said. Yeah.
So-
So
So
exciting things.
I'm not getting fired over a podcast.
That's the mystery.
No, we would never ask you.
But no, I mean, yeah, we're consistently working on new products, right? So there are some things coming down the line that I'm incredibly excited about. We're just not at a point to talk about them right now.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Yeah. We really, we love JVC-Kenwood, and we really appreciate your time.
I had a blast, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for inviting
Thank you
me.
very
I
much.
enjoyed doing this.
Well, you're invited back anytime. So
Yeah.
if you ever
You
want
let
to
me
get back
know.
on here to talk about anything, we can do that. And, if say something new's coming out and you want to talk about it, we can do that.
Yep.
Okay.
So
yeah, that sounds great. Cool.
And,
okay.
And if you want to plug any social medias, I don't know if, you have that list ready, but we can put it all in the description too below.
Yeah, I mean, so the majority of our social medias are just /Kenwood USA or /JVC Mobile Entertainment. Or sorry, JVC Mobile USA. Damn it. So yeah, the majority of our social medias, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, it just ends with /Kenwood USA or /JVC Mobile USA. And that'll get you on the majority of our landing pages. Yeah.
And if they go on their YouTube channel, they'll probably see you too, right?
You'll see a lot of me.
Okay. All right.
You'll see a lot of me on that. That's my daughter's favorite thing to do is send me screenshots of her watching me on YouTube.
Are they flattering images?
Yeah. Does she wait till you're making a weird face?
No, she waits until I'm like, and then
That's
takes
our
the picture,
thumbnail right there.
Yeah,
just
that's
so you
it.
know.
There it is,
Yep.
right there.
That's okay.
We got you.
That's all right. I'm fine. I'm fine with that, man. I'm not the type of guy who's gonna get burnt britches over something fun and silly.
Right.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
All
That
right.
works.
Well, we will see you later, Josh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
Thank
gents.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Josh.